ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you something today that could change the way you see yourself and your future. Your mind is your greatest power. Not your job, not your bank account, not the people you know. It's your mind. The way you think, the way you process challenges, and the way you respond to opportunities all start in that space between your ears. If you can train your mind, you can transform your life. But if you let your mind run wild with negativity, fear, and doubt, it will hold you prisoner for the rest of your days. Your mind is the greatest power you will ever have, and once you understand that it's the foundation of everything you do, everything you dream, and everything you can become, you start to take control of your life in ways you never thought possible. Too many people underestimate what's going on in their own heads. They spend more time training their bodies, polishing their appearance, chasing after external achievements, but they neglect the very engine that drives it all, the mind. Every single invention, every business, every act of courage, every breakthrough in history began as a thought in someone's mind. That's how powerful it is. The same tool that can build empires can also build a life you've been dreaming about. But it works the other way too. If you allow your mind to feed on fear, negativity, and doubt, it will create a life that matches those thoughts. That's why people who constantly talk themselves down, who focus on what's wrong instead of what's possible, always seem stuck in the same place year after year. The mind doesn't just reflect your circumstances, it shapes them. It takes whatever you focus on most and works tirelessly to make it your reality. So if you fill your mind with the belief that you are capable, resourceful, and deserving of good things, your actions will naturally align with that belief. And when your actions align, results follow. This is why you can't treat your mind like an afterthought. You've got to train it to work for you, not against you. You've got to be intentional about what you let in, because every conversation you have, every video you watch, every word you repeat to yourself is either empowering you or weakening you. People think that success is about luck, but more often than not, it's about the mindset you carry every single day. Your mind will either be your greatest weapon or your greatest enemy. And the choice is yours. The secret is to start taking responsibility for your thoughts. Because the moment you realize that you control the narrative in your head, you stop being a victim of circumstance. You stop waiting for the world to hand you a break, and you start creating your own opportunities. A disciplined, trained mind will see possibility where an untrained mind sees only problem. It will look at a setback and immediately start thinking of ways to turn it into a comeback. That's the kind of mental power that separates the people who survive from the people who thrive. It's not that they don't have struggles, it's that they've trained their minds to push through them with focus, creativity, and persistence. And here's the truth. Nobody else can do that for you. You can have mentors, coaches, friends, and role models, but at the end of the day, the work of mastering your mind is yours alone. The beauty of it is, once you make the decision to train your thoughts the way you train a muscle, you'll find that your confidence grows, your choices improve, and your life begins to reflect the power you've been carrying inside you all along. Success is not something that just happens overnight or by accident. It is the result of consistent, deliberate effort. And that includes the effort you put into training your thoughts every single day. Your mind is like a muscle. And just like any muscle in your body, it needs regular exercise to grow stronger and more resilient. You can't expect to think one positive thought and instantly change your life. Just like you can't expect to lift a weight once and suddenly be in shape. It's about repetition, about showing up for yourself daily, about creating mental habits that lead you toward the life you want. Every morning you have a choice about what kind of thoughts you allow to set the tone for your day. If you start your day thinking about everything that could go wrong, about all the things you lack, your mind will spend the rest of the day finding evidence to prove those thoughts right. But if you start your day focusing on gratitude, on possibility, and on your ability to handle whatever comes your way, your mind will begin looking for ways to make that reality true. This is why training your thoughts is so important, because your mind will believe whatever you tell it over and over again. If you feed it excuses, it will grow weaker. If you feed it reasons to keep going, it will grow stronger. And the stronger your mind becomes, the easier it is to face challenges without letting them break you. The people who achieve great things don't have perfect lives. They just have disciplined thoughts. They know that emotions can be unpredictable, but they've trained their minds to stick to the plan regardless of how they feel in the moment. That's the difference between wishful thinking and mental discipline. Training your thoughts daily also means being intentional about your environment, because what you hear, see, and consume shapes the way you think. If you surround yourself with people who complain, doubt, and quit, your mind will naturally lean toward those patterns. But if you place yourself among those who push forward, who believe, who speak life into their goals, you will find that your thoughts follow that same energy. Even in moments of weakness, a trained mind will find its footing and remind you why you started. That's why discipline is not a one-time decision, but a lifestyle. It's waking up and choosing to direct your mind toward what serves you again and again until it becomes your natural way of thinking. You don't have to control everything in your life, but you can control how you respond, and that begins with the thoughts you practice every day. Over time, those practice thoughts become automatic, and when they're positive, empowering, and focused, they guide you toward the success you've been working for without you even having to force it. What you allow into your mind will eventually shape the way you think. And the way you think will shape the way you live, which is why surrounding your mind with positive input and protecting it from negativity is one of the most important disciplines you can develop. Every conversation you have, every piece of content you watch, every word spoken in your presence is either feeding your growth or feeding your doubt. And you have to be aware of that. Too often, people underestimate how much their environment influences their thinking. You might start your day feeling motivated, but spend an hour listening to someone complain or criticize everything, and suddenly your energy feels drained, your confidence feels shaken, and your focus is gone. That's because negativity is contagious, and the mind is highly impressionable. If you're not careful, other people's fears and doubts will become your own. This is why it's so important to intentionally fill your mind with things that inspire you, challenge you to grow, and remind you of what's possible. Positive input doesn't mean pretending problems don't exist. It means choosing to focus on solutions, choosing to learn from setbacks instead of being defeated by it, and choosing to believe in the possibility of something better even when circumstances are hard. It also means setting boundaries with the people and the influences that try to convince you that your dreams are unrealistic or that you should settle for less than what you're capable of. Protecting your mind is not selfish, it's necessary, because a weak and distracted mind will never be able to lead you toward your highest potential. You have to treat your mind like your most valuable asset, because it is. Just as you wouldn't pour dirty water into a clean glass and expect to drink something healthy, you can't keep pouring gossip, self-doubt, and negativity into your mind and expect it to produce clarity, focus, and courage. Choose carefully what you read, what you watch, and who you spend time with. Seek out conversations that lift you higher, voices that remind you of your worth, and examples of people who have done what you aspire to do. Over time, these influences will start to shape your default way of thinking, and you'll find it easier to maintain your motivation and vision even when life gets difficult. A mind surrounded by positivity is more creative, more resilient, and more focused because it's not constantly weighed down by distractions and discouragement. It can see opportunities where others see dead ends, and it can stay calm under pressure because it's been trained to believe there's always a way forward. This doesn't mean you'll never encounter negativity. It means you'll be so filled with the right input that the wrong input won't have the power to take root in your thinking. Fear is something every person encounters, no matter how confident or successful they may seem. But the difference between those who move forward and those who stay stuck is how they respond to it. Seeing fear as a challenge instead of a stop sign is a mindset that can change the course of your life. Fear often shows up right when you're about to step into something bigger, right when you're on the edge of growth, and it whispers all the reasons you should turn back. It tells you you're not ready, you're not capable, you might fail, and it tries to make the unknown feel like a threat instead of an opportunity. But fear is not always a sign that you should stop. Sometimes it's simply a sign that you're stepping into territory you haven't mastered yet. If you train your mind to interpret fear as a signal to prepare and push forward, you take away its ability to paralyze you. Most of the breakthroughs in life happen on the other side of fear. And the only way to reach them is to move through that uncomfortable space where your doubts and insecurities get loud. When you approach fear as a challenge, it becomes a motivator. You stop running from it and start leaning into it with the determination to learn whatever lesson is there to teach. Instead of thinking, what if I fail? You begin asking, what will I gain if I try? This shift in thinking gives you control because now fear becomes a tool you can use to sharpen your focus and increase your effort. Many people wait for fear to disappear before they take action. But the truth is, courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to act in spite of it. And every time you do something that scares you, you build a stronger belief in your own ability to handle discomfort. And that belief will carry you into bigger and better opportunity. Fear loses its power when you refuse to let it dictate your choices. It's like a muscle. The more you face it, the less intimidating it becomes. Sometimes fear will be a warning to proceed with caution, and sometimes it will be an invitation to rise to a higher level. But you won't know which one it is unless you move forward and test yourself. The people who achieve their goals are not fearless. They're simply unwilling to let fear stop them. They've learned to reframe it as a challenge to overcome rather than a wall they can't get past. They've trained their minds to see that fear often means growth is just ahead, and they treat it as a sign they're on the right track rather than a signal to turn around. When you see fear as a challenge, you open the door to experiences and successes you would have missed if you had chosen to stop. Imagination is one of the most powerful gifts you have, and when you treat it like a mental gym, it becomes the place where you build the vision of your future before it even exists. Everything you want to achieve starts in your mind long before it becomes reality. The images you hold, the scenarios you play out, and the possibilities you allow yourself to see are all shaping the path you take. Too many people use their imagination only to replay past mistakes or to predict negative outcomes, which is like using the most valuable room in your house to store garbage instead of treasures. If you shift that energy toward imagining the life you want, the goals you can reach, and the person you can become, you give your mind something to work toward. The more vividly you can picture it, the more real it becomes to your subconscious, and the more naturally your actions will start aligning with that vision. This isn't just wishful thinking, it's training your brain to focus on what matters most. Just like in a physical gym, repetition is key. The more you visualize yourself succeeding, the more your mind gets used to that image and the less foreign it feels when you start to achieve it. When you walk into situations you've already practiced in your imagination, you carry a confidence that makes you more prepared to handle them. Imagination also allows you to experiment without risk. You can play out ideas, test different approaches, and explore possibilities before taking the first real step, which makes you more strategic and less afraid of failure. The danger comes when you let your imagination work against you by creating fear-based scenarios that hold you back. If all you picture is what could go wrong, you'll hesitate, doubt yourself, and miss opportunities. But if you train your imagination to focus on what could go right, you'll start finding ways to make it happen. It's not enough to just dream. You have to believe in those dreams so strongly that they influence the decisions you make every day. Belief turns a picture in your mind into a plan in your action. Every great achievement in history began as a vision in someone's imagination. And that same ability exists in you. The challenge is to use it deliberately, to take time each day to visualize, not just where you are, but where you're going. Fill your imagination with the kind of future that excites you, challenges you, and pushes you to grow. Because the more you see it in your mind, the more your mind will search for ways to bring it into reality. A strong, focused mind is one of the greatest advantages you can have, because when your thinking is clear and disciplined, outside circumstances lose their ability to control you. Life will throw distractions, challenges, and unexpected setbacks your way, but if your mind is trained to stay centered on your purpose, you won't be easily shaken. Focus is like a compass. It keeps you pointed toward your goal no matter how many twists and turns you encounter. Without it, you can drift from one idea to another, starting projects but never finishing them, reacting to everything around you instead of intentionally moving toward what matters. Strength of mind comes from consistency, from facing difficulties and refusing to let them weaken your determination. It means being able to keep going when things get uncomfortable and not letting temporary feelings override long-term goals. When you're mentally strong, you can filter out what doesn't serve you. You don't waste energy on petty distractions, unhelpful criticism, or situations that don't align with your vision. That clarity saves you time, energy, and frustration because you're not scattering your efforts across 100 directions. Focus also builds momentum. Every time you choose to stay committed to one path, instead of chasing every shiny opportunity that comes along, you move closer to the result you want. And as you start to see progress, your belief in your ability grows, which makes it even easier to keep going. A strong mind is not rigid, it's adaptable. It can adjust plans when necessary without losing sight of the ultimate destination. It can take feedback without feeling defeated and use it to improve instead. This is why mental strength and focus often go hand in hand with resilience, the ability to recover quickly from setbacks. The more you train your mind to stay calm and keep perspective in difficult moments, the less power those moments have over you. You learn to see challenges as part of the process instead of proof that you should stop. Over time, this creates an inner stability that can't be easily shaken by outside forces. When others are thrown off course by criticism, fear, or distraction, you're able to stay grounded and keep moving. This doesn't mean you won't have doubts or moments of uncertainty, but it does mean you won't let them decide your actions. A focused mind knows that progress is built on persistence. And a strong mind knows that persistence is a choice you make every single day. Together, they create a force that can push through obstacles, adapt to change, and keep you moving toward your goals no matter what's happening around you.